Hello everyone, welcome to another Dragon Ball Legends video. However, this time will be a little abnormal. Instead of me doing a fantastically lucky summon video or breaking down the latest and greatest characters coming into the game, I will be doing an argumentative and analytical analysis of all things supporters. So before I get into it, please consider liking if you enjoy, and please consider subscribing if you have not done so already. Now, supporters are helper characters that have automatic effects that trigger in battle. For example, Dende's effect heals the user with fixed healing up to 2 times at maximum awakening. However, supporters are obtained via summons for their first copy onwards and can be purchased from the shop if you have the first copy. Although I will like to say right now, buying supporters is not that expensive, especially because the most stats are at level 30. Going to level 99 is a lot more fluff than it's worth, especially as we are coming into an anniversary period as well. So I definitely would say filling out a party with level 30 supporters. Of course, Dende is by far the best supporter, so I have him at 99, really just to see what that would look like on my account and to show that off. But going over the supporter deck as a card game, so what that means is I will go over, okay, this is why I have the deck that I choose, what are some side options, and what are some options I wouldn't really consider, but I'd still say, okay, here are their merits. Starting off with Dende, by far the best supporter. He literally just has unconditional heal, but if you're facing a Frieza Saga enemy, that is so much healing. Hercule, very relevant right now against Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, because when an enemy battle member is Cell Saga, it locks the opponent down from using Strike Arts is the big thing, so that is how he works. Oob is counter against GT. GT is very relevant right now. Gohan is counter against 3 Saiyans, so that is always going to be quite relevant. Puar is very finicky. It is 3 enemy battle members, a weapon wielder's Sun family. You have to have element disadvantage, though, so that is going to be a little, that's gonna be a little bit tough to pull off with the element disadvantage, but I still have him in my deck because he is relevant against Trunks party specifically because they have the weapon wielder. That's why I found the most success with him, but really, he might go out of the deck just because of the fact that he's so finicky to pull off. And Super Saiyan Vegeta is really more of a tech option. There's not a lot of androids in the meta right now. The closest thing would be Android 13 being a relevant target because he is such a great supporter, but I haven't seen much of him recently. I might go ahead and tech him out, and I might tech back in Belmod into the list because he seals enemy Rising Rush if there's a universe rep. The problem, I might do it like this. I might go ahead and tech that in right here. However, the problem with him is his ability is kind of finicky. Like, it's like, okay, you seal my rush. Okay, that's not really that impactful to play around, in my opinion. It's really finicky. And one coming up, Yajirobe, if they all of a sudden, start having more Frieza Force buffs, this can be relevant again for sure, especially as Ultra Frieza is coming up onto the A tier for this season. Yama's just really finicky. Even when he was relevant, I was just like, ugh. That's why I didn't boost him to 30, is because just all those conditions you have to deal with him. I mean, the movies part isn't the worst thing ever. The 2 or more enemy battle members remain. That's not too hard, but it's like you have to let someone die first, and then you gotta make sure it's not the last one to seal, and then you guys, it's just a lot, right? Especially for what you're gaining out of it. It's really good gains, though. It is, but it's really finicky, and it's really good. Deceptively, though, you have to get quite lucky on that. It's universal, though, so you could just trick it into every match and then say, okay, get a lucky proc, and then there you go. You just landed a nullification against a Rising Rush, which is unbelievably strong. Like, I do have to emphasize, it's probably the most powerful ability of all these supporters. Nullifying Rising Rush, that changes everything, right? But you have to lose a wager first. You have to lose a wager first, which is not too bad, but you have to proc that percentage chance. But future is also, a little relevant, and we have the free-to-play supporters to go over, saying really good, really teched into a lot of decks. I just teched this out recently, however, because of the not only low free-to-play stats, but I just felt like using other supporters, especially because, even if, Dende, Hercule, Oob, and Gohan right now are really just the top ones, and, I could fit them in. I just don't want those lower stats because I fit them in. Same with Hoi Poi, although, it's also very good. Powerful opponent, 5% health, and permanent key recovery up. That's really quite good, although I just I'm not going to tech that in. If I see something that I don't have a counter for with these specific counters, I'm probably just going to go ahead and, use Dende. I'm just going to go ahead and use Dende. And the new supporter, Great Ape Tora, goes ahead and if 3 or more enemy battle members are a powerful opponent, I don't know why I said or more on 3 or more, but, there is a defeated battle member and hit by strike arts, it will interrupt and deal explosion damage, and it's boosted to 2 or more. There we go. But I'd say there's not a lot of relevant powerful opponent, and I just say that's a little bit finicky on the conditions. You could certainly run in, but it's just seeing the powerful opponent part that's tough and tricky. So in the list, Dende, Hercule, Oob, and Gohan, that's my core. That's the core of the deck. I don't think I'm going to be teching those out anytime soon with how the meta is going right now. Puar is a tech option, and Belmod is a super tech option that I could just say, okay, I want to switch that out with Vegeta as I please, depending, right? And then I just really wasn't a fan of Baba. I could have teched her in, but I just really wasn't a fan. And that's how I'd say I would build my supporter deck, but you could go ahead and do Scouter. I really like having this interesting conversation about, okay, how do we want to build the supporter deck right now? Because I don't really think anyone's talking about, okay, how do you build a supporter deck? How do I build a supporter deck to win? What all about supporters? So I want to fill up this niche, but talking about supporters in a general sense, they have gotten so much better. Why? Why is that the case? Why are supporters becoming more and more relevant in current matchups? When they first dropped, of course, instant effects like Hercule and Scouter, and effects that really didn't take a lot of time to pull off like Dende, those worked, right? Those absolutely worked. However, effects like this Vegeta here, 80 timer counts, it might be your first instinct, might be your first reaction, that's so long, right? However, the way that Legends is intentionally stretching out matches, adding all these second life mechanics into the game, specifically nerfing long combos, so you have to make more interactions, adding debuffs to all these characters, making it so combos get even shorter now. that is an intentional decision to make matches go longer and longer and longer and longer, which I could talk about that separately, but just to talk about it here, I think the long game meta is super, super fun. I absolutely love it. I am a huge, huge, huge fan of how long games are going now, even to timer. I really appreciate that. That is kind of fun to me. That's genuinely super fun. I just don't think it was very fun back in like 2024 when we had this 99 combo meta, and it was just like, dude, I had like 3 chances. I had 3 chances to turn the tide, and I lost all 3 of those. It's like, okay, you lose to 3 99 combos. That wasn't fun. That really wasn't fun. So how Legends is actually designing things, hot take. I know, hot take. But I think they've structured things super well. After the dust cleared from the 7th anniversary Great Reset, I really like it. It's been really quite good. But I do have to say, I was apprehensive like everyone else when buying supporters. I listened to the, just don't get it. It's not worth it. Trust. But once I was like, you know what? Let me just get one supporter to level 30 and see what happens, right? And you're like, how can you justify that? One rotation on a banner is a 3,000 Chrono Crystals, okay? And you might get one supporter out of it, but that's not the point, right? The point is, it's 3,000 CC. You're not too likely to get, something crazy out of 3,000 CC, right? Just, a rotation. The amount of Chrono Crystals it takes to level up a character to level 30 from level 1 is a little over 3,000. That's only a rotation just to get basically the maximum amount of abilities. Like, the difference between this and this is not a lot. However, I will say, for those people who do like to spend a little bit more, and, one thing on that I will say is cheeky, they did put it in the shop, which of course, you have to see this screen before you go into this screen. Of course, they just want you to see all the things you can buy. It's just a little trick that they employ. That's like, okay, that's fine. That's whatever, right? However, the only thing I will say on the actual shop itself that is kind of frustrating is the fact that, rare medals are hard to come by. I remember people complaining as well. It's like, oh my gosh, free-to-play supporters, there shouldn't be a limit on refreshes. This is such a disgrace to old players, this and that and the third. I'm like, yo. Absolutely not. What are y'all talking about? Like, I just you can blow through your rare medals through this. Like, it's just crazy how there's just such a genuine, lack of them. Like you cannot refresh as many times as you want to. And then the lineup updates after 7-8 hours. It is just absolutely insane on that front. However, that is the most frustrating part. It's the randomness of here gets kind of tricky. Because there's no guarantees. You could not just see what you want forever on the lineup, right? And that is why I am not specifically getting supporters to 99 outside of Dende, because he's just fine. By far the best one, for sure. No questions asked. By far the best one. Okay. By and large, the best one. I just don't think there's much value in having that locked, especially since this is so new and we're just now starting to get supporters to rerun on these legend banners, which legend banners is something I'm not going to stray too far in talking about. They're good, but there's some question marks I have, especially because, it's so new. But neither here nor there. You have just no pity in, seeing what you want. So that is definitely frustrating. They should definitely have more than 2 slots for the supporter shop. I think that's basically the main problem with supporters and that. Oh my gosh, they're paying me. Like, no, they are not. It is very, very easy to just chunk in a rotation to support it. Ready to go. Like, that's how I view it. And especially, like, even this low, like, oh, that first condition, that's really not that bad. 90 timer counts, and that's a boom. You can go ahead and say nullify a combo that would lost to the game. Like, it's really quite fun now, especially as a card game player who really likes deck building, like even more so than playing sometimes, right? Especially when things get particularly frustrating. I just like building decks. That is something I genuinely enjoy talking about. Okay, what is the philosophy? What is the strategy behind what goes on? What are the structural mechanics of something? Which is why I genuinely enjoyed making this video, and hopefully y'all learned something about how supporters operate. Of course, I might make a what's the meta? If y'all want to see what the meta supporters are, y'all can just go ahead, and I might just make community posts about that, though. I don't think there's need to say, okay, this, that, and the third about meta. Tier list, occasional tier list might be a good idea, right? I might make, occasional tier lists, because I never liked character tier lists. I thought that was a little too finicky, especially because I just, there's just so many to parse through in my head. I just never like doing like this is number 1, this is number 2. Nah, that ain't me. I just think characters in powerful, great, good, okay, then bad, and then like don't even think about running this, right? I like to step through that like a 0 through 5 scale, where it's like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's how I like to think about characters. But yeah, that's my thoughts about supporters. They really, really, really are these just small little interrupts 1 or 2 times happening in the match, which I really like. I think it adds depth. I think it adds to the game and not subtracting from what we have going on the surface with the mainline characters. So I think they definitely implemented this well. Legends just is not really fumbling at the current moment. They are just doing all this stuff so well, and you might be like, whoa, Super Saiyan 2 Gohan this, Super Saiyan Goku this, Second Life mechanics this, blah, 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 blah. But, I ain't necessarily a believer in that argument. No. The meta right now is very diverse and I think quite healthy. I'll just say it out loud. I think there's quite a few compositions you can make. I think you can take a lot of teams into PvP right now and see great success. But that is all for this discussion over supporters. I pulled Tora from the Bardock Manor and spent 3,000 Chrono Crystals. That's why I didn't make a dedicated summoning video. This is in its place of a dedicated summon video, and I'm not doing any more summons on Bardock. I literally said to myself, okay, I want the supported Tora. I got the supported Tora in 3,000 Chrono Crystals. I was like, you know what? That's fine. I'm out of here, right? I am out of here. I always try whenever I can to prioritize the first copy. As a free-to-play, I'm just not going past that first copy right now, right? Even if I was like, I even like this character, right? I really do. I just don't think it's worth it, especially with how new LR characters are. I just want to see how that goes and then, really save up for the anniversary, blah, 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 blah. Y'all get it, right? But yeah, I am really a fan of how supporters turned out. I just think that one of the things that can be said about the implementation is I don't mind a structure like this, right, for cooldown period. Just having a supporter is fine. Having just a side character is fine. And having 2 supporters on a banner is fine. Having a supporter and a side character is also fine. I just don't think what they did in Festival is okay. right? I just don't think having a supporter for each banner, I just, it's like, ugh. And having, one side unit for part 1, that was genuinely not okay. Right, that was genuinely like, whoa. They are feeling things out. They're really, oh my gosh, yeah, they're really demonstrating and demoing things and finding their groove at the wrong time, right? But I definitely think Anniversary can, just learn from that, right? Learn and see that, maybe we should have a better mix-in of supporters and side sparking characters, because those are also important, right? Those are also very, very, very crucial for this game. But I'm out of here. Hopefully y'all enjoyed, flexing my alternate art, and I will say, I rock with the alternate art system. It definitely makes for a chase item. While the base rarity is quite easy to get, there's also this chase rarity, which, like that. I absolutely like that. That is how you do it. It feels like a card game, and I love it. I love that deck building strategy thing that's going on here. Although I definitely think they should release quite a bit better supporters. I just think that them revolving around the meta is quite good. But we do have quite a bit of finicky ones in here. But overall, I think it's a great system. I think people are overblowing it. Of course, that's what I usually say every single time when I talk about this game, is that it is underrated as a whole. But that ends this discussion video. Hopefully y'all enjoyed, and until next exciting video, bye!